Chapter 29. Failed Promises. Ian let Eve fall against the outside concrete with a hard thud. His eyes locked on me with rage. "Blank," he hissed with distaste. "Now you don't have anything against Eve. I'm your target," I stated. I can't believe it worked. "Rachel, take the hacker back to Territory 3, Ian ordered. Rachel nodded without a word, taking the limp girl and running off. Hal huffed, running after the bomber in a full sprint, yelling, "Alice, protect John." "Well, you did it, Blank," Alice replied. She pointed one of her guns at Ian and the other at Dan. I pulled out my own gun, pointing towards Ian. "Alice, take care of Dan. This is my fight and mine alone." "But," she began, "I mean it. I will keep my promise to Eve and to myself," I cut her off. Ian yelled, running towards me, grabbing my waist and forcing me to the ground in a swift motion. I coughed as the air entered my lungs again. I pushed the killer to my right. I kicked him in the leg. Sitting on top of Ian, I pushed his arms against the ground in the same way he had when we first fought. However, when we fought, I could still use both my arms. Ian's free fist met with my nose, forcing me off him. He brushed the white hair from his eyes. He raised his knife in a threatening manner. I snarled, looking for the gun that was not in my hand. Ian used my confusion to his advantage. The boy turned to his side, kicking his foot hard into my gut. This forced me against the front entrance of the mall. I coughed, feeling like I was going to vomit. My feet moved swiftly, ignoring my stomach's plea to stay. I jumped to Ian's left, just in time to not be stabbed by his blade. White hair and rage forced against the glass of the door in a way that almost seemed comical. It was sort of like when a cat plays with a laser pointer. Ian pushed off the wall with a rage I've never seen in any human being. "I'm gonna paint this whole place with your color," Ian whispered like a demon. Oh, God. I could feel my face turn white with fear. But I can't let him know that. I can't let any of them know that. Why not black? I mean, that is the color demons bleed, right? I'm sure you'll look lovely," I barked in reply. I don't want to kill him. I won't. This fear again. This damned fear. I can't kill him, and he knows it. A wicked laugh came from Ian, just as it had the first time I met him. I want to bend down and scream against it. I want to cover my ears and fight the noise. Not that laugh. Not that damn laugh. It still rings in my ears, in my memories, in my fear. "No," I growled. "What's that, little Blank? Don't like my laugh?" Ian joked in a childish manner. "Piss off. I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm not going to let you get away with threatening my family," I screamed, so the world could hear me. I want all to listen. Eve, Hal, Alice, and the cell phone killer too. I want them all to hear that I won't be afraid. I won't. I slid my foot back, running towards the demon boy with all my might, and pushed him against the glass. White, almost like snow, appeared around us as the glass shattered. Ian stabbed a piece of glass into the front of my shoulder in an attempt to get away. I pushed my weight onto the boy, pressing my knee on his neck. The white-haired boy squirmed under my weight as both of his arms clawed at my leg to release. I narrowed my eyebrows with a rage as he stabbed me again in the thigh. I released my grip slightly, but it was enough for him to push me off. His foot shot into my gut, again and then again and again, as I lay against the red-filling floor. I put my hand up, only in reaction to stop the pain. Rough fingers pulled my arm up, cutting the skin quickly. I crawled to my knees, looking at the skin of my left hand. A large cut across the bottom of the palm, to the wrist, narrowly missing the vein, bled down my arm at an alarming rate. My eyes locked on Ian. He knows exactly what he's doing, doesn't he? Killing is all he remembers. But he still missed. I jumped to my feet with little energy. This fight is already unfair. I just spent 2 hours running around, and now I'm fighting with someone who only knows killing. It's stacked against me, but I can't afford to wonder what if, or else I won't have to wonder anymore. A headache formed in the back of my head. Not now. Not now. God damn it, not now. I've learned over the last few weeks since our house was destroyed that any time I got a headache, I only had a few minutes, if that, before I'd pass out. No. Not now, I whispered to myself. What's wrong, Blank? Giving up so soon? Ian mirthed. His laugh only increased my headache. Maybe if I get outside, Alice can home him off for a few seconds. I mean, when I do pass out, the longest time has been 2 minutes or so. Maybe... Ow. No. I can't expect her to fight two people at the same time. But what choice do I have? I'll be killed if I pass out. Why now, of all times? I dashed forward, taking a small cut from the shattered glass that still remained on the doorframe. But it doesn't matter, though. Still, it wasn't comfortably close to my eye. Alice, I called as the heat took over, along with the shaking. I stumbled with blurred vision, unsure of where anything was. The girl left her fight and ran towards me, firing off in both directions as I fell against the concrete. My vision narrowed as black became my new reality. Black. That's the only thing I dare to look at. I can't help it. I can't help but be afraid of him. No. If I shake again, he'll know that I'm not sleeping. I saw someone else today. She looked sickly with her bones thin and her hair dry. She was Hispanic, that much I could tell, but I only got a quick look before everything went black again. I want to go home. I want to get away from here, but I can't move. My arms are always bonded, but hers weren't. No, she just laid in a hospital bed with dust-covered sheets as if they hadn't been touched in months. Medical equipment covered her background, with steady beeps and unmoving strings. Her eyelids moved, but nothing more. She looked like someone who had been dreaming, and yet something was off about her. I got to stare at her for a few minutes, and yet her images burned into my mind. The thing is, though, I could hear many other beeps, but I could only see from where I lay. Is this what the killer is doing with all his victims? What's he going to do with us? Am I just going to be a test subject for some kind of drug or something? Are we going to be sold, or is this just what he does until we starve? I wish my dad were home that night. I wish he were here now with his unit to save us, but that's just a fantasy. The police haven't made any breaks in the case, so then why should I expect them anytime soon? Damn it. I'm gonna die here, aren't I? My eyes opened wide to the scene set before me. Alice yelped as Ian's blade stabbed into her arm. I pushed myself from the earth, facing Ian, who huffed tiredly. Thanks, Alice, I smirked, standing to face the boy. Wait, who is he again? Ian. Ian's his name, right? He swung his knife at me, causing me to back up in order to avoid a cut. Yep, that's Ian. Having a girl fight your battles is weak, isn't it? He grunted. She's stronger than me. It's only logical, I replied, creating some distance between the killer and me. Ah, that's the nicest thing you ever said to me, Alice laughed sweetly, as if the fight meant nothing. Stop it. It's weird. Fine, witch, I joked, nearly ignoring Ian. That's more like it, she smirked. Hey, pay attention, Ian barked. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost interest, I joked, pulling at Ian's esteem. He just wants the attention. Ian yelled in anger. He rushed towards me again, knife at the ready. I dodged, rushing to my right. I tripped, falling against the hard ground. Ow. I looked over to the cause of my fall. The pistol lay against the dark plane. I smirked, taking hold of the cold metal as Ian rushed to me. He stomped on my ribcage, knocking the breath from my lungs. See? This is what you get, Blank, for messing with my plans. And now I'm gonna kill you. And then come midnight tomorrow, I'll kill your little girlfriend Eve too, he hissed, pushing harder on my lungs. I closed my legs, trapping his supporting leg between them. I rolled to my right side, sending him against the shadowed concrete. I stood, turning the tables on him. I pulled out my gun and pointed it directly at his head. Never speak her name again, I commanded, as a clicking noise filled the world. Everything fell silent. Dan and Alice ended their own fight for the time being, as all eyes fell upon me. You won't shoot me, he argued, with a hint of fear in his voice. If you try to make a move, I will, I replied bluntly. Ian swallowed, dryly. I stared down at the teen, who seemed completely terrified. He's scared. Scared of me. His fate is in my hands. All it would take is a little more pressure. Just a little bit more. Just a bit. No. I'm not going to do the cell phone killer's job for him. I'm no better than him. I'm no better than any of them. And it was stupid to think I was. I threw the gun down against the earth in a rage. I will not be like you. I will not do the game maker's job for him. Remember who decided to spare your pathetic excuse for a life today. Remember, Ian, you are alive today because I let you live, I stated in a strong voice, with a power I'd never known I possessed. I turned my back to Ian, walking towards Alice. Let's go get Eve, I called calmly. Her eyes widened, and everything seemed to slow. Dan came behind her, holding his hand over her mouth, forcing her to be silent. Concern overtook my thoughts. She struggled with all of her might, but she seemed less concerned about herself and more for what she was trying to say. Dan yelped as teeth marks formed across his hand once Alice freed her lips. She warned, "Behind you!" I turned, only to be met with a bang. The sound echoed through my ears as my own senses vanished. My body fell back, almost as if I were flying from the impact. My lips parted, as if to scream, but no noise came out. Only silence. I hit the concrete with a hard thud that sent shock through my body. I arched my back, only to fall and lay flat. Electricity traveled across my body, though I felt no pain. In fact, I can't feel much of anything. My left hand traveled from my side with a slow and shaking pace to the upper right side of my chest, a few inches below my shoulder. My breathing tightened as it became more and more difficult. I stared up at the false night sky with constellations that don't match up with any real ones. Alice's concerned face with... Are those tears? Water danced from her eyes as she looked down upon me. Alice, why are you crying? I coughed in whispers, realizing how hard talking had become. Her right hand came to her mouth as she moved my hand with her left. A small gasp escaped her lips as the tears increased. I lifted the shaking limb into my fuzzy vision. Red covered the print of my hand that dripped onto my cheek. Alice took my hand with both of her own in a tight grip. Don't look at that, she huffed, trying to hide the fact that she was crying. I coughed again, but this was more wispy and hard. A metallic flavor filled my taste, as blood filled my mouth. I turned my head towards where she sat, seeing as I was unable to sit up, letting the red pour from my lips and stain the concrete. It's gonna be okay, John, she reassured falsely. I'm sure it was more for herself than for me. Alice, I coughed, cutting off my own speech. Will you do something for me? No, you can do it for yourself, she teased with a choke. Tell Eve I can't keep my promise to meet her in the real world, I whispered, as my voice had become more of a groggy tone. No! Alice's tone grew panicked. You'll keep it. That's all we have. You'll be okay. Tell me you'll be okay, John. I can feel my heartbeat in my chest, slow and almost too low. It's okay, Alice. I'm gonna be My arm became limp as a deep breath left me in a slow motion. A smile reached my lips as red poured from the pale and cracked skin. Breathing stopped as a liquid took away my privilege. My eyelids flickered in my tunneled vision, almost as if I were falling asleep. Just go to sleep for a little bit. Just for a minute. Just for a moment. Okay. John!